Waffles. Who doesn't love waffles? That's right. Exciting day here today because I'm about to start the timeline for the first CGR feature review, the big review of MUSHA. And there's a little storyline that'll be running through it, which is going to pick up where the Best of Classic Game Room left off. And I have my Best of CGR here on a drive, and I'm going to copy over the files that I need because in the end of this film, well, Edit Station 1 does something with the clone marks, but there's another clone mark that maybe he wasn't thinking of. So I need the clips here, and I'm taking some big inspiration from some of my favorite Star Trek films to build the timeline. And I can start to piece it out. It's about 90 minutes. I want to block off a chunk for storyline, a chunk for the gameplay review, a chunk for the music, a chunk for the controllers, and then work on the flow. So this is a pretty big deal to shoot all of this, but this is fun. This is the stuff I like to do. So let's get started here by copying some files. Next to my guard dog. Stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. Waffles. Chicken. You're so predictable. While that file's copying, there's important work to be done. Oh yeah, there we go. Emergency coffee in a pinch. These files are pretty big, so while they're copying, the next thing that I'm going to do here, while I drink my coffee, still a little hot though, I'm going to wait till that cools down. The next thing I'm going to do is just take a look at the CGR Supreme project, which I just also created yesterday, which is going to be like a greatest hits of classic game room, some of my favorite old reviews, and the new ones with the extended, the hypercuts. Actually, I have here the list of videos I'm looking at for the first one, the first CGR Supreme, which will have master cuts of all of those reviews, including one exclusive new review, Marky Mark's Make My Video for Sega CD, and there'll be a running commentary over it, a commentary track option, and some new bumpers I'm going to shoot in between everything. And here we're looking at CGR Supreme 2, which will have Barney and Rick rolled, a bunch of other great reviews, and some of the new ones that are coming up on the show over the next few weeks. So a lot going on here at Classic Game Room. I'm expecting to, I'm not positive yet if this will happen, but I'm hoping to release the first CGR Supreme on December 1st for sale. Hello, Stella. I know, it is exciting news, isn't it? Now that the Best of CGR files have been copied, I'm copying over those reviews, the master files from one of these backup drives. These are the original Classic Game Room backups dating all the way back to 2007. The older ones are actually on a different drive, but a couple different drives. So if I can get the edit and the packaging art and printing complete by December 1st, it will be for sale. And you can get the first CGR Supreme just in time for the holidays. So let's grab some videos. Let's see, Truxton is on a different drive. RoboCop, was that 2012? I think so. Let's go find it. Good memory. It's right here. Under Pure Solar for the Genesis. I actually have a copy of that for the Dreamcast. I haven't had time to play it yet, but I'm going to grab the pinball review. I'm going to copy that. And put that on the timeline. That's how this is done. Then I'll lay a commentary track over it for the CGR Supreme physical release. This is why you should always save your backups, kids. You never know when you might need them several years in the future. And there it is, RoboCop Pinball. That's one of my favorite reviews. I always break that one out when I do a talk, especially at Replay FX where I shot that, and it gets loads of laughs. So that's second on the list right after Truxton. Then I'm going Rolling Thunder 2, and then a really old one with Space Cavern, Assetto Corsa, which I have on my other editing system live right now. Chuck Norris, I think is on the other drive. Phalanx is new. Virtua Fighter 2. Was that, I was just looking at the other day. 2010, right? I'm going to grab that. My bad. I meant Virtua Fighter for the Sega 32X. And I'm going to grab that. That's May 2010. Each of these CGR Supremes is going to have a nice bit of information about the history of classic game room. The show's been around forever. And each year's been a bit different. And there it is. Pow. Copy. This is back from 2010 when I was making this show in my basement. There's a blast from the past. I'm looking in 2008, and Space Cavern is what I'm after. Oh, and Sylphid, actually. Wait, no, it's the PlayStation 2. Oh, there we go. There's Sega CD. I'm going to grab that, too. That's also on the first CGR Supreme. And these were all copied over, I guess, in 13, but these are the original 2008 reviews. The way that I'm making these CGR Supreme collections is trying to put together a nice collection of reviews to show the diversity throughout the years. I was thinking of breaking it out by game system or game console, and ultimately I decided against that because it's not easier, but it's more effective to make a good film, I think, when I have complete flexibility throughout the years, because I'm bouncing between like pinball, a fighting game, and an old spaceship shooter, and an Atari game, and then in between those I can put some of the live action reviews and stuff, so I can make it one great full-length adventure, which is what I'm looking to do with these. So here's Sylphid. This game has a slightly different shield structure than other shooting games, which I really like. You have one left. Who is that guy? He's so monotone. So I'm grabbing the Gunlord review, which is sitting on top of H2 Overdrive, which I remember being a great review. I'm going to add that to my list here. So what I'm doing on the iPad, or my tablet, not an iPad, what I've been doing here is putting together possible collection playlists, or set lists as I'm calling them. That's why I've been asking a lot of you guys what your favorite reviews are, and I think H2 Overdrive needs to be on one of these. So I don't know that every single review I've ever done is going to end up in a CGR Supreme, but certainly the good ones, and I think all of these are good ones. Here I am in March 2013. And, oh, Mario Fruit Snack, that was a good one. Sin and Punishment, copy. All right. Every year has a slightly different style, so mixing them together is ultimately, I think, the best way to go to make one complete entertaining film. So I'm going to shuffle these around and then watch the collection at some point to see if it flows the way that I want it to, and then start to plan for the bumper sequences. So this will be a lot like the Best of Classic Game Room, which I know many of you enjoyed, and I had a lot of fun making that too, so it's going to be somewhat similar. Be about 3 hours per collection, per CGR Supreme, so you'll get a lot of reviews for each CGR Supreme, and then these will be sold in those Here, I'll show you the clamshell cases. Here's the stock that I'm going to be using for the first CGR feature review. Sega Genesis clamshells. In fact, I need to order another batch since the Kickstarter did so well. But I'm going to be using these same things for... Need two hands. For the CGR Supreme films, which will have a foam insert, which I'm still talking to some suppliers about that, and then there'll be a USB drive, a signed USB drive inside of it, and an instruction manual with a notes section, and of course an insert. So these are going to be nice, lined up on your shelf. CGR Supreme, right next to CGR feature reviews. Right next to your copy of MUSHA and Truxton. Here's one of my favorites from back in the day.
A heat source is coming up from within the substructure.
Is that so? It's Vanquish. Now, as if that's not enough excitement for you, on the shelf over here I have from my friend Michael Mr. Nelson. The exclusive review, which will only be on Patreon and on the CGR Supreme Collection. Marky Mark's Make My Video. Regarded by many as one of the worst games of all time. And since I'm sure there's music in it, it probably won't be on YouTube long, so. Doesn't matter if it's journalism, if you're not one of their best friends, it won't be on their site. So now I'm looking in the CGR feature review project, which as you can see is pretty much empty. And I'm going to start it by dropping a 4K video file on the timeline because I'm mastering this in 4K.
Yeah, I get that.
There's the behind the scenes audio. Shh!
Get this thing off the screen.
Where I'm talking to myself. Very exciting. That's what the footage looks like before it's edited. I sit there and I'll talk to myself, and then later on I re-record the audio, and I'm shooting each of the controllers individually, and then I'm going to be mixing that with gameplay of me playing MUSHA, talking about which controllers work the best for the game. While the files are busy processing over into Premiere, I'm going to sit here and read this nice book that Tim sent to the show. The Art of Atari. Sadly, Pac-Man wasn't that good on the Atari. Ooh. Happy children playing Atari. Wow! That's computer space. And you can see one of these in the background of Soylent Green.
I challenge you to a review off of Call of Duty Advanced Zombie Black Ops Modern Warfare 5942 on the PlayStation 400.
Oh no! Who is going to stop this before it gets violent?
Yep, that's the best of Classic Game Room. Thankfully, the star of the CGR feature review is still here. You can hang on to the Star Trek Laserdisc.
Hooray! Our savior has returned.
I'm disappointed in both of you.
All right, I've got everything copied on here from at least these drives. There's a bunch more on my Mac, which I'll bring over tomorrow.
Okay, that was nice. How about this one? Ooh, there's 4 of me. The clones are real.
They are indeed. Some people think I make it up. I don't. So I'm going to sit down and watch this for the pacing. I like to bounce between old games, new games, games with more live feed than live action, etc., just to keep it flowing. I'm pretty sure that this one will be on the end, though. Everybody's favorite. Back when I tormented poor Derek in the R zone after probably beating him to death with the Gamecom. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there's going to be one definitely in the front. I forgot to grab that, so let me go do that.
Tiger Electronics.
Great. Truxton. Some of the other favorites like the Game Boy Printer, Barney's Hide and Seek game, and Umehara Kawase will be going onto CGR Supreme 2. So ultimately there could be like 1,000 of them. This is the moment when Truxton enters the timeline. Woo!
And some kind of weird thing that comes out of the ground that when touched turns into an alarm clock. Bird Week! Bird Week! Bird Week! People who brought us the dreadful Gamecom also bring us the R Zone. The future of video games is virtual reality. With the R Zone. Let's turn this thing on and see what happens. The R Zone. I am part of the R Zone. Time to destroy.